Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I will be bringing you 4 vinyl DIYs. So let's go ahead and get started with DIY number 1. So I'm using this rainbow colored vinyl, and I got it off an advertisement on Facebook. I'm not even sure what kind of vinyl it is. But anyway, we're going to use this for our first project, and it has some design, like a holographic design on it. Looks pretty good, and I'm just going to weed this. It was a little hard to get it started, but once I got it started, it wasn't too bad to weed. And this one here is going to be for my tumbler. And I thought it was cute. I got it off of Design Space. It was one of those that you can customize. So it says, it's a Liz thing you wouldn't understand. So really what I wanted was just to put my name on my cup, and I thought this was a good way to do that without just putting the name on there. So now I'm just going through and picking out the pieces that I don't need and the letters. So there it is. Isn't that nice? It's a Liz thing you wouldn't understand. I am a little weird at times, so yeah, sometimes people don't understand me. And I get it. So I didn't have my little scraper tool, so I'm just using this bone that I had. Just burnishing it down so that it'll attach to the transfer paper. Just kind of have to work with it, taking the backing sheet kind of from side to side. Just working it a little bit at a time. It does take time. It can get frustrating. Vinyl is not the easiest thing to work with, but the result is pretty good. So there it is. And now I'm going to get my cup. And this is just an old cup that I had from, I think, Walmart. It's the ones that have the little mountains on it. And let me tell you, I mean, it's not very expensive at all, maybe like $5, $7. It does keep your drinks cold. I mean, you can put ice in it with a drink, and the next day when you get up, you'll still have ice in it. You know, it keeps the hot stuff hot too, but not that long. But yeah, I really like these cups. So I'm just laying it down on my cup, burnishing it down a little bit here and there, and then taking the transfer tape off. Being careful to make sure my vinyl is laying down. Now here you'll see me take my bone underneath where I'm pulling down the vinyl. That worked out pretty good. Just doing a little bit at a time, just pulling it, make sure my fingers keep the words and stuff down that want to come up, and there it is. I think it turned out pretty good. I like it. So it's a Liz thing you wouldn't understand, and there it is on my cabinet. I've been using it. And let's go on to DIY number 2. So for this one here, I have this decor piece that I actually got from Goodwill. I think it originally came from Hobby Lobby. I paid probably a couple bucks for it. I don't like to go over $3, so I know it wasn't more than that. And I'm just sanding off the words, and that worked pretty good, but I'm still going to put a coat of paint on it. So I'm using just this black acrylic paint with a sponge dauber, and I'm going to do the sides. And now I have my vinyl, the same vinyl like I was using before, only this is a black vinyl. Oh yeah, this one turned out pretty good. It's the fruit of the spirit, fruits of the spirit. And it says Galatians 5:22. And then the fruits of the spirit, they have looking like flowers. And again, this came from Design Space. All I did was size it to the size I needed it. And it does take a little bit of time to weed because you have all the weeding for the words and the leaves and the flowers. So again, you just want to be patient and just, work it, take your time. You don't want to rush it. And if you lose a letter, well, you can go look for it in the vinyl you pulled off. I've done that several times. It's not fun, but you can usually find the pieces. And if all else fails, you can try to recreate it, just the piece you're missing. But there it is, Fruits of the Spirit. And I'm going to apply my transfer tape. Now, you don't have to use expensive transfer tape. You can actually use adhesive, just clear adhesive that you would get on a roll. My husband had a bunch of it, so I confiscated it and I'm using it. It was just laying in a box, not being used. And I'm like, you know what? I can use this. So that's mostly what I use for my transfer tape. I don't like paying a lot of money for stuff if I don't have to. So with this, again, you want to just go slow, kind of go back and, or I don't know, not really back, but from side to side maybe, or pulling up a little bit. If you see your words or whatever trying to come up, just put your fingernail on it, or you can put one of your tools on it, just whatever to kind of hold it down as you're pulling the backing sheet off. And another thing you can do is actually pull or push down on the backing sheet and then pull it as you go. That seems to help quite a bit. So I do know that vinyl can be frustrating. It really can. But I like the way everything turns out, so I keep doing it. If you work with vinyl, what is your favorite vinyl to work with? I know there's a lot of different vinyls out there. What is your go-to vinyl? And I really don't see a difference between the permanent vinyl and the non-permanent vinyl. To me, they're basically the same, but I don't know. Maybe there is a difference. I would think if you needed to and you didn't put anything over top of it, you could still pull it off even if it was permanent vinyl. Now I'm just making sure some of it was staying down. So now I'm taking this paint here that I got from Top Shelf, and it is a chalk paint. I think it was $5. I thought it was $3 until I checked out. No, it rang up as $5. Like, oh, okay, well, guess I'll keep it. But anyway, I'm using the sponge brush again, and I'm just going over the top. So the sides are black with acrylic paint, and the top is kind of an off-white with a chalk paint, but you can use whatever paint you have. Now, I did let this thoroughly dry for several hours before I put my vinyl on it. So I'm just placing my vinyl down where I think it needs to go. And once I get it where I want it, then I burnish it down. And I do have my tool this time, and this is just one from the Dollar Tree. I'm not going to pay more to get a Cricut one because they basically look the same and do the same thing. So I did want to go back to Dollar Tree and get some more for this craft that I'm doing with a bunch of ladies, but they didn't have any more. I thought that was a little weird, but yeah, they didn't even have one. Now I'm just rubbing these down, making sure they're sticking to my decor piece there. I think it turned out really great. Fruits of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22. And that's love, goodness, peace, patience, faithfulness, kindness, gentleness, what is that? I don't know what that one is. And joy. Self-control. Self-control and joy. So let's get on with DIY and number 3. So for this one here, I have this board that I got from Dollar Tree after Valentine's, I think. It was originally $5 and they had it marked down to $1.25. However, I think it rang up as like 75 cents or 50 cents. And I thought, hey, for that, that's great. So I bought 2 of them. And I'm just, again, using my acrylic black paint. And I think I paint this whole piece. I do the front, the back, the sides, everything. And I'm using the sponge brush. I like to use this with when I'm painting stuff like this because most of the time you only need 1 coat. And it puts a little texture on there and looks pretty good. So I do use the sponge brush a lot for my decor like this. So I just sponge it on until I cover the whole thing. And there it is. And now I have this mandala that I had cut out. I had used the stencil part of it for a different DIY, and this was what was left over. I could not bring myself to throw this away because I'm like, you know what? I can use this on another DIY. So that's what I'm doing. So this is basically scraps from, or once you pull out the weeding or whatever from another project. So I kept it and I'm putting it on this board. And frankly, I think it turned out really good. So there it is, hanging on my wall. Let me know if you like it too. It was actually some vinyl from Hobby Lobby that was for last year's graduates. And now on to our last DIY. So this one here, I got this decor piece from Hobby Lobby when it was 90% off, when they had their spring section 90% off last year. So I've had it for a little bit, and I'm just going to use it for this one. So I have my King's Gold acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint the whole thing, I believe. Again, using a smaller sponge brush or sponge dauber, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to put 1 coat on that middle section there. And it's a separate section that was actually kind of nailed down. I didn't want to take it off. And then I put, I think, 3 coats on the rest of it. And I don't think I do the sides. We'll see here in a little bit. I think I only do the top. But you'll see how you can see the background there. And I really don't want that, so I'm just going to take my heat gun and I'm going to dry the paint before I put on another coat. Because you don't want to put a second coat on top of a wet coat because it kind of pulls up your first coat. So you want to make sure it's dry before you go to another layer. And see how that's kind of covering that up a little bit better? So you hardly see that background at all. Again, I'm going to take my heat gun and dry the paint there. Maybe I only did 2 coats. So I'm going to take my homemade Mod Podge and I'm going to put it just on that middle portion there. And this is homemade Mod Podge, and it is just like the matte Mod Podge that you get at Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree, wherever. So you use 1 cup of glue, and that can be Elmer school glue or Elmer's all-purpose glue. It doesn't matter. 1 cup of glue to 1/4 cup of water. And then I have this old songbook that my mother-in-law had, and when she passed away, it was given to me. And I just cut one of the songs out, and I just glued it onto this top piece. And I'm using my roller to roll it out. And I'm using this vinyl that, again, it's the same vinyl I've been using from that same company that I don't know the name of. And this one here, we're going to layer. So I have my first layer here, and it's just a bunch of flowers with some leaves and all. I thought it was cute. Again, it's strictly off of Design Space. And I just sized it to the size that I needed. So I think it has like 4 or 5 layers. So I apply my transfer tape, and then once I get my design on there, then I layer it on top of what we already have. Line it up where it needs to go. And you can see I'm kind of holding down the vinyl as I'm lifting off the backing sheet. And that way you can keep it down on the transfer sheet. This one here has a little bit of design on it. And if you guys like what you see on my channel, please think about giving me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And if you know anybody that would like my crafts, please feel free to share my videos with them. So I'm just kind of rolling back the transfer tape very slowly. There we go. And a piece of it didn't transfer, so I'd have to put that on by hand. And it's kind of a small piece, so it's kind of hard to get it on with your fingers, so I try to put it on with the point of my weeding tool, which kind of helped a little bit there. Once I get it where I need it to be, then I'll just push it down with my finger. And then we'll go on to the next layer. So these first layers are different yellows or golds. And then the last layers are greens. And that one piece didn't want to come off, so I'll get to it later. So then we need to line this up on top of what we already have laid down. And this one was a little bit more difficult to line up, and some parts lined up and some parts didn't. So I took it kind of a piece at a time. I think I had to reposition one or two pieces. That middle piece right there, I had to pull it up and reposition it. So I just kind of put my weeding tool up underneath it a little bit until I could pull it up with my fingers. So I'm just trying to take my time to get it in the correct position. And now I was a little disappointed with the color of this piece right here. When I went to cut it out and was looking at it, it looked more green, and it looks kind of green right there. But when I put it on my piece and hung it up on the wall, it looks more yellow. So that was a little disappointing because I wanted it to be green. And it's a different color than the other green that's laying there. I guess I could cut another piece and redo it, but yeah, I don't really want to do that. I mean, if you look at it one way, it's kind of greenish, but if you look on it straight ahead, it's more yellowish. And you can see right there, it looks greenish. So maybe it's just, you know, how you turn and how you look at it. Because like I said, all these vinyls are kind of holographic, I guess is what you call it. They change colors and are real shiny. And this type of vinyl, and maybe it's that way with all holographic vinyl, is kind of, I don't want to say brittle, but sort of like that. Sort of brittle, I guess. I don't know how to exactly explain it. I did tear one of the first layers of one of the flowers, but since the other layers were on top of it, you don't really see it. So there's our last layer. There we go. So I thought I was finished right here. And I did leave the sides white, as you can see there. Thought I was finished, and then after I turned the camera off, I was like, oh, yep, there's a piece of the flower I missed. So I take that off and put it on the flower that needed it. And then once I get it in the correct position, I just use my finger and push it down. Now, on all these projects, I do not use Mod Podge on top of them. I do not spray them with clear spray paint. I just leave them as is. I know a lot of people do cover their vinyl with Mod Podge or the clear spray paint, but I do not. And I don't think it needs it. But here it is hanging on the wall. In fact, it's hanging on my wall right now. Looks really cute. Let me know which of these is your favorite. I have to say, the one we just did, I really like, and then the Fruits of the Spirit. Well, and of course the cup. I like them all. What can I say? Again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you're a subscriber, thank you so much. And if you're watching this video, thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, think about doing so. Love you all. Bye.